If you thought the last Saints game was dour, jeez, did you watch the third quarter of this game? My goodness gracious me. Not the easiest watch, but a really good win for the Blues. Let's react to it. So my first thoughts tonight is going to go towards the actual Spuds game part of the evening, because yes, we should have a mental health round. I actually believe that we should have two, one in sort of the first month of the season, maybe towards the end of round 4, or round 4, round 5, around that time. And also as we get towards the end of the year, so you're talking like round 21 would work for both of them. Spuds game would of course be either the first game of the round or a standalone day, so the Thursday or the Friday. I'm cool with either of those. St. Kilda could potentially get both of those, and they could be a two or a pair of guaranteed primetime games. That would be amazing, because the messaging around mental health, the pride that we should have in Spud and his legacy and all of those fantastic things is an incredible notion. And unfortunately, the AFL are just not putting this together, which sucks. We can add it to the list of incompetencies that they are showing at the moment, which stinks. But if the AFL can't do something about it, we can, because the one thing that we cannot do is only care about mental health once someone's passed away. The AFL world has suffered too much in terms of former players that have passed away. Society itself is suffering too much from people taking their own lives. No, I'm not discounting the fact that there are women out there that are taking their own lives as well. One person, regardless of who they are, is too many, especially with things that are going on in the mental health space. As someone that has struggled with mental health in the past and does now on a very much a lower scale than I used to, which I'm very lucky and grateful for, this is a cause that means a lot, and hopefully it means a lot to everyone else as well. And it was awesome that guys like Liam Stocker, Elijah Hollins, and Harry Mackay were able to not only contribute in this game, but talk about it afterwards. I'm recording this pretty much directly after Elijah Hollins' interview on Fox. I loved that. I loved how Harry spoke in the post-game as well. And the way that Liam Stocker opened up during the week was a fantastic thing. So the more we talk about mental health and the more we can help block out the societal morons out there that try to downplay this topic, the better off we will be, because life is hard, life is expensive, and overall, life can be really shit at times, whether it's in our control or not. And regardless of how big, tough, and strong you think you are going to need people around you that can support you. And if that's family or friends, amazing. If it's a complete stranger and you can get some bulk build sessions from your GP, which you absolutely can do, along with starting some mental health plans and paperworks and behavioral stuff, which can be a little bit confronting, but is going to help you in the long term. We should all be actively involved in doing that. And the simple answer of, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. That's not enough anymore. And we need to get around each other. We are a club, but we're not a sporting club. We are a family club, regardless of who we barrack for. And no one should be left behind when they're feeling ill, whether it's physical or mental. Check in on your mates, reach out. I don't give a damn if it's me. I don't care if it's in the comment section. I don't care if you find me on social media. I don't give a damn. But I promise you, a 15-minute conversation to hopefully help you make life a little bit easier or better in the moment is a hell of a lot better than sitting through a 60 to 75-minute funeral because of a decision that someone can't take back. So if you're not okay, let's find a really simple and really easy next step. It doesn't have to be the entire journey to wellness laid out. It's what can we do as quickly as possible to make something easier or better, because you deserve that. So let's talk about the footy, and let's start with the winners. I genuinely haven't checked Twitter since the siren went. I have no idea how Carlton fans are reacting to this. I hope that the reaction is one of happiness that the system stood up. Now, of course, the execution absolutely did not for big parts of this game, but overall, this is probably a game that in the past, and we can even include this year in that part of the conversation, that Carlton might have let slip, and they didn't have to rely on Cripps, on Walsh, on Curnow, on Mackay. I know Harry had a big last quarter and was fantastic throughout the entirety of the game. I'm not taking that away from him for a moment, but it wasn't just on the shoulders of one or two or three guys to try handedly, I suppose, get them across the line. In fact, the three biggest shout-outs for the last 3.5 minutes of that final quarter was Elijah Hollands, Jesse Motlop, and Will White, because all three of them, with Hollands and Motlop on the outer side, well, from the broadcast side, the outer side, their halfback wing area. In fact, Jesse Motlop was really good all night, the further up the ground he got. So whether he becomes that high half-forward role and they still have to find something for Durden, I know he played a lockdown role in the second half, or especially started it about halfway through the second quarter. So maybe they do, is it Ashton Moyer? Does he have it in him or does he not? Does he just need to get exposed to that? Who knows? But they still definitely are missing that small target. But the further up the ground that Motlop got, the better. So if he can become your sort of Dylan Moore, probably of last year, to be perfectly honest, then that would be a huge win for the Blues. But he managed to hit Elijah Hollands on the chest, and Elijah just stopped because they had all the numbers behind and they didn't want to rush. They didn't have to rush because they weren't trying to kick a goal to win the game. And all he had to do was slow down. And it's something that I tell the little bloke at home, is that his brain works a hell of a lot quicker and a hell of a lot when he slows down. Not everything needs to be at 110 miles per hour. And then Will White's ability could have blazed away because Carlton thought the 38th time they'd bomb it onto someone's head would be the moment that everything would work out well for them. It didn't. I know they took, I think, 13 marks inside 50, but ain't a lot of them were contested at the top of the square, let me tell you. But his ability to just find Harry Mackay, and look, 30 seconds off the clock, it's not as important or more important than the goal, but geez, it was good. And Carlton finally have got not only some continuity, but some absolute quality coming out of half-back. Adam Saad's form is on the rise, which we love to see. Jack Silvani, why anyone thought a Silvani should play as a forward, but his dad kicked 200 goals. Yeah, he's the fullback of the team of the century, so I know he can kick a snag and love doing it. Nothing wrong with that at all, but Jack, no, he's a defender. Absolutely, he's a defender. He can absolutely be the third defender in a quality backline. Nick Haynes, who I was pretty happy to turf out after the Richmond performance, to be honest, but he has found himself in some really good form as well. It sucks that Lockie Cowan went down because I'm a big Lockie fan, but they managed to get this done. Look, and if there is a club that you can afford to lose your centre-half back against and get subbed out, and fingers crossed that Mitch McGovern is okay at the time of recording, we don't know how well he is, it's probably against the Saints without Max King, who themselves, and Carlton did this as well, who decided that the majority of their forward 50 entries would go to basically no one at the top of the square or 40 centimetres off the goal line for some reason. So whilst there is this sort of ability to lament the bad things that Carlton did, the system, the structure actually stood up pretty well, and Michael Voss deserves credit for that. So shout out to the Blues for that. Was it pretty? No. But the fact that they were able to get some separation in that second quarter and hold up really well in that second half, it's encouraging moving forward, remembering that it's been since basically June last year that Carlton have beaten a side that is not Richmond, West Coast, North, and then Geelong, which is the weird, bogey, better team than them that they seem to have the chocolates over. But considering that the last time then was a win against Essendon, which was June last year, this is improvement in a big way. So they played really well. So the Blues, hats off to you. 77 points in a win. Lovely. Defense stood up unbelievably well. TDK played nicely. The he and Marshall battle was awesome. So let's talk about the Saints. As easy as it is to just say that the Saints just didn't execute when they absolutely needed to, is both true and a little bit of a cop-out as well. They got plenty of rebound drive off of half-back. Jack Sinclair looked like he was going to single-handedly take this game over because Brad Hill decided that every disposal he would have would be the weirdest option out of all of them. It was so strange, the game that he played tonight. I liked what Caminiti did, especially coming up to the ball, which was nice. They did get some inconsistencies from their young players, which you come to expect. But what I will say is that if we don't turn around and go, well, this is how well the Saints played without their experienced players, because to be fair, we weren't really saying that last week. We would just support, well, I was, talking up how well they played. I don't think we can really use it as an excuse here. You've just got to talk about the 23 that were on the field and what didn't they do. What I will say, though, is that the Saints aren't necessarily just Marvel merchants. They aren't downhill skiers just at Marvel. Now, I can understand if you're thinking to yourself, they kicked 62 points and they didn't win the game. How is that a thing? And it's because I don't think it was a game style problem that made them not play well at the MCG. It was a case of that defensively, they still held up really well. You've got a Kerno and Mackay-led forward line that only kicked 77 points. Yes, those two boys kicked 6 goals, one, I think, between them on the night. So you can sort of go, and they didn't get a whole lot out of anyone else. The Blues did offensively, if we're being honest. So they can kind of get a tick that way. It was just a case of they lacked the polish in the execution. And if you accelerate 25 extra games into Boxall, Hall, these kind of guys, Philippo, you could argue, who did some nice things in his comeback, the Saints will probably be better for the run that way. I am still buying what the Saints are cooking right now. Again, I don't think they're going to be a finals team this year. I think that is a bridge that I just am not ready to cross yet. And there are still so many things that they need. It is so obvious as to why they are trying to go after as many players with polish as possible and why they desperately need Miles Bergman and they desperately need to keep Nazaya Wanganeen-Miller because their movement outside of those two is not a whole lot. They definitely need to hang on to them. And the question was asked on the Thursday rub. I was listening to it while playing 9 holes at the Sale Golf Club today. Would you rather pay, if it came down to it, would you rather pay 1.7 to TDK or Nazaya? I'm not saying that they're going to pay Nazaya that much, but if you had to pay one of them, which one would it be? The answer is so obviously Nazaya Wanganeen-Miller. They've still got Alex Dodson on the list. They've still got Harry Boyd on the list. I don't think you need to be doing that for a ruckman. I can totally understand going after TDK in terms of what he brings. He and Marshall as a genuine tandem forward ruck mix. Could that work? You could argue Jackson and Darcy doesn't, but they're both a little bit more athletic. Neither of them are really the Sean Darcy part of that conversation. But overall, I feel like by this time next year, St. Kilda will have a game like this that they will probably win. Yes, when St. Kilda lose, it's easier to spot the passengers. When St. Kilda lose, it's easier to give some shit to Ross Lyon. Overall, they were just not good enough on the night. Sometimes the analysis really is that simple, and I think they're going to be better for the run. I think if your expectations of the Saints is that they were going to come out and murder the Blues like they did, that's just not who the Saints are, to be perfectly honest. So, all part of the growth journey. I can certainly understand St. Kilda fans being frustrated at the way that this game played out, the fact that they didn't really give a yelp offensively for much of the game, but especially for the last, effectively, 2.5 quarters. I think they kicked 4 goals in the first half and only managed 5 more, which is not great in the context of a 3-quarter span. I can see both teams learning a lot from this game. It wasn't the greatest spectacle, but not every game is. You got to live with it and you got to move on. Unfortunately, I won't be doing a Hawthorn react this week, guys, as I will be out for the little bloke's birthday outing over the weekend, which is going to be awesome, and got a 4-hour drive home. It's just not going to be feasible. I will hopefully be home in time for the showdown, so we'll be doing a showdown reaction. Gonna be doing a video on probably the Geelong and GWS game, but again, time is going to determine how that goes, which is going to be super interesting and so much fun, and I'll do some posts about the Hawks stuff, especially the MVPs, so you guys can keep track throughout the weekend. So I hope you enjoyed the reaction. If you haven't checked out my Fremantle Collingwood reaction, if you could go do that, that would be awesome. I've also done my early 25 draft and free agency predictions, and the Logan Morris one has already come true, so go check out the other 34 players that I spoke about in that video. I so appreciate you watching. Reach out if you need anything, guys. Thank you so much for being the amazing supporters you are. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy cohort family. Whatever you want to call us is A-OK with me. Thanks, guys. See you later.